Welcome to my sewing room. Today I have one of my favorite forms of lace shaping for you. It's called Celtic lace shaping. Some of you might be saying, now Martha, what in the world is Celtic lace shaping? And I'm going to share with you what it is and how easy it is to do. Celtic lace shaping is a term that's used when a shape goes over and under. Can you see how these laces, some of them are going under and some of them are going under. They are both curved and mitered, and usually when I do Celtic lace shaping, I usually use curving and mitering, but you could use flip-flopping too. This next skirt and blouse would be perfectly wonderful for a first communion. Isn't that pretty? Celtic lace shaping. Over and under and miters and curves. That's the way I would describe it. This is a very tailored blouse that would be beautiful for a first communion, even as a wedding dress, as a mother of the bride, mother of the groom, or just a very special dress for any special occasion. This Celtic lace shaping is on the skirt all the way around. This is a quite elaborate and a quite beautiful Celtic lace shaping. Now you can stitch Celtic lace shaping down with a pin stitch or just with a regular zigzag, any kind of stitch you want to. This is the New Zealand blouse, which has absolutely magnificent Celtic lace shaping on a heavy linen. We've used everything from batiste to silk to show you this Celtic lace shaping. This is ecru lace on the white linen. This is another dress which was meant for a first communion. Absolutely beautiful Celtic lace shaping on the front. And then this is a real interesting technique on the bow. There is a beautiful piece of yellow ribbon with just a piece of lace that's been stitched down on top of the ribbon. Such a nice dress for an older girl. And Celtic lace shaping can even be used on everybody's favorites, the christening dresses. The Celtic lace shaping, by the way, on this princess dress, which is a copy exactly of one of the pieces in my antique, in my collection of antiques. This is the Celtic lace shaping used down on the skirt of the christening dress. It's kind of a pineapple shape, and it goes over and under and over and under, and even down to the bottom of the dress where there are Celtic scallops. Come on over to the technique boards with me, and I'll share with you just how easy it is to do Celtic lace shaping. There are only 2 lace shaping techniques on Celtic lace shaping, and don't tell anybody, but they're really easy, and I want to share with you how to do them. All right, the first thing you do on Celtic lace shaping is trace off your design. Now, I've done a curve here, and here's the lace shaping called mitering. Okay, I put a pin on the outside, a pin on the inside. I'm going to pull my lace tail around on itself, remove the inside pin, put it through 2 layers, and bring my lace around, and then I'm just simply going to take my pins and start coming up here, pulling it up to the line. I hope my hands aren't in the way too much for you here. Pull it up on the line and start coming around. Okay, let me come on down here to the next one. Maybe I can keep my hands out of the way for you. First of all, I put the pin to make the curve. I put the pins on the top row, and I have a little curve trouble here that I'm going to fix in just a minute. Now, to make this Celtic lace shaping, I'm going to let this piece of lace come over the under piece of lace, and then I'm going to lift it up and slip it underneath and let it come under this piece of lace. And then in order to make, then we'll kind of put that lace down, I already have it shaped. In order to make the curve, I'll come around here, putting the pins on the big side of the curve. Now let's go back. I told you I had a little curve trouble up here. Well, in French and English laces, there are gathering threads built into this. This is French lace, and the gathering thread is built in. So I'm going to go in here, find that gathering thread, which the easiest one to pull makes a scallop on the top. And did you see how that laid down just perfectly? Now I'm going to come on around here for my Celtic lace shaping, put the pins on the outside. Pins on the outside, and this time, since the lace went under the last time, I'm going to let it go over. So I'll continue around with my pins, and then later on I'll pull a string and make it lay down. Here is what it looks like after It has been shaped and pressed and starched. I'm ready to go to the sewing machine. And here I have actually zigzagged it down, and you will be able to see that you can see. This I call peekaboo lace. In other words, I've cut the fabric from behind. Let me turn it over and show you. When you get it all zigzagged or wing needle entredot stitched down, you go back in and cut away the fabric from behind. Now come on over here and let me share with you just how easy this really is at the sewing machine. Okay, let's go over that miter one more time because we have mitering and curving, only two forms. Pin at the bottom, pin at the top. Fold it back on itself, remove the top pin, put it through 2 layers, and bring it around. And then for the curving, you put the pin on the outside. Pin on the outside, I think I got 2 pins there. Pin on the outside, and then I will pull a string and curve it. After it is all finished, I'm going to zigzag it down, and then I'm going to go in behind and cut it away. As you've seen, I've done here. You go in behind and cut the fabric from behind the board. Now let me just show you the real key here is in the stitching. All right, now I have a zigzag stitch here. I'm going to zigzag, zigzag, zigzag. Now when I come over here, this is the real key to making it really beautiful. When I get over to where the lace goes over, I'm going to go ahead, let me get my pen out. If the lace goes over, I'm going to go ahead and zigzag right on top. Now then, once I get over here, now this lace goes under. So let me show you what I'm going to do. Since the lace goes under, I'm going to lift my needle and I'm going to lift it up and simply slip over to the other side. See if I can get it exactly in the right place. Pull one more pin out. I jumped over the lace. All right, now let me show you that again. Okay, this lace, of course, I'm just zigzag. And by the way, you can do any stitch you want to do. I just wanted to show you that you don't have to have, you just don't have to have anything but straight and zigzag in order to do heirloom sewing and lace shaping. Now then, remember, when the lace goes over, I'm simply going to zigzag over it, and okay, here I come now. The lace goes under, so do you remember what we're going to do? We're going to stop, and I'm going to jump right over, lower my presser foot, and begin to sew again. So over and under and over and under and over and under and over and under is what we're going to do. Go zigzag right on around, and this time the lace is going to go over, so I'll just keep on sewing. Just goes right on over, and move some pins here. Probably should have spray starched and pressed that a little bit more and not put so many pins in, which I'll do that next time. All right, and then I'm getting ready to jump over. So I will lift, slip it under, and begin to sew again. Do you see there what you do on Celtic lace shaping? It's over and under and over and under. When the laces go over, you just keep on zigzagging. When they go under, you lift it up and jump over. And now then, I have a really beautiful quilt square to share with you. Celtic lace shaping can be done with bias also. This beautiful quilt square has the yellow linen bias, Celtic lace shaping. See how it goes over and under, and a beautiful machine embroidered motif in the middle. Now, it's really pretty easy to do Celtic lace shaping with bias, so let me just share with you how it is done. First of all, you cut a piece of bias strip. Then, the real secret to doing the bias is to cut the little long tip so it will slip through there real easily before you start pulling it through. Now then, that little tip was the real secret there. All right, I pull it through and then I will press it. And then you pull it through some more and it lays it down and you will press it. The finished bias strip looks just like this after it has been pressed and pulled through. Then you mark the center of your fabric, and now it is time to do the Celtic lace shaping with the bias. It is so easy to do lace shaping with bias. Here we are at the miter. Pin on the outside, pin on the inside. I'm going to fold the miter, fold the bias back on itself, just as if I were using lace. Remove the pin that goes through 2 layers and begin to shape all the way around. You already know how to do a curve, so I'll pull it out here, put the pin in on the curve, and then I will shape it all the way around, and then it looks like this. I'll spray starch it, press it flat, and this time I'm going to use a pin stitch or a Madeira applique stitch. All right, I'm going to stitch. The Madeira applique stitch is straight on the outside. Let me get my pin. And it has the little fingers that go in and grab it. I do have a wing needle. I'm using a wing needle pin stitch here. Okay, now then I'm going to come on over, and just as if I were doing lace or stitching on lace, this piece of the Celtic lace shaping except it isn't lace shaping, Celtic bias shaping, it goes over the other one. And by the way, I do have a stabilizer. So I'm going to stitch over, just right over the fabric, on around. And as I stitch all the way around, we're going to come to, pretty soon, we're going to come to one that goes under. So since this next one is going to go under, let me pull the pin out, you already know what I'm going to do. I'm going to stop sewing right as I come up to the Celtic where it crosses. Okay. I'm going to stop sewing, and I'm going to jump right over to the other side, lower my presser foot, exactly right place, and I'm going to sew again. Now I jumped over and I left a little piece of string, a piece of thread. Obviously I'm going to clip that thread, that's no problem to do. So you see I go over and under. Now watch one more time. When I come in here, I'm going to come up where I've already stitched this part. Now this one goes under. So I will once again lift my presser foot and just jump right over, lower it, and begin to sew again. And then I will clip those little lace tails that jumped over, the little thread tails that jumped over, and that is all there is to stitching down the Celtic shaped bias. It is like lace shaping though. And next I have a home decorating project for you. I love lots of beautiful pillows in my bedroom, and I especially love it if they didn't cost me a fortune. This beautiful pillow I've called the Loves Me, Loves Me Not pillow. And I don't know if you've been in any really expensive decorator shops lately, but pillows like this can run $100 or more. Well, we're not going to spend that, and we're going to have a real decorator pillow. Isn't that cute with the little leaves coming down there? Loves Me, Loves Me Not. Very easy to do. First of all, you can get your pattern, Loves Me, Loves Me Not, print it out of a computer if you want to. And then we're going to, either you can go to the photocopy place and photocopy it, but you know what? If you hold this on a light table or to your window, you can actually see to trace through it. And this one was just done with a permanent marking pen. Okay, now after you get it traced onto your fabric somehow, either transferred or just traced on, take your fusible interfacing and put the sticky side down. Now you're not going to press it yet. Next, you're going to sew all the way around this, cut a little slit in the middle, turn it right side out, and I've already done that for you here. You see we sewed, cut a little slit in the middle, and we turned it right side out, therefore making a wonderful motif. Now then the sticky side is on the outside. It's time to press it down, and that has been established. All right, I used a little bit of rickrack to come around, and so you just stitch it, just straight stitch or a tiny zigzag all the way around the centerpiece. I've also used rickrack all the way around the outside of the pillow. Now, the little flowers, I got just a bouquet like this, and you simply pull it off, and there is a little piece that sticks out behind. I just take a regular pair of scissors and cut that off, and now then we are ready to start glue gunning our little daisies around. You can lay them down flat or give them a shot of steam, either one. They're little fabric flowers, silk flowers, coming all the way around. Now then, you dismantle another one of those and cut the little, since it's silk, you're going to have to cut your little petals apart. Just a few, whatever you want for the Loves Me, Loves Me Not. Let me pull one more around here. We'll glue gun it down. And then you just glue your little petals, and see how pretty that rickrack looks there? You'll just glue your little petals for the Loves Me, Loves Me Not. Now then, I have taken the rickrack all the way around the outside of the pillow too, as you can see, all the way around, stitch it down. Now let me show you how pretty it is when it's finished. This rickrack has been stitched where only half of the little rickrack tooth shows. And the way you do that, you simply put the back of the pillow on the front, as I have it here, and stitch from the back on the original stitching line that you stitched the rickrack down to the front, and then turn it right side out, and you have a Loves Me, Loves Me Not pillow. And now I have some beautiful hand embroidery to share with you. I'm so happy to have as my guest today my very dear friend Kathy Neal. Kathy is one of the outstanding embroidery teachers in the whole world and has had the privilege of studying all over the world too. Kathy, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Martha. It's good to be back.
Well, I'll tell you, I love this adorable camisole that you have done with this exquisite embroidery. I can't wait to see how to do it. And these adorable tap pants. This looks like what the teenagers and the college girls like to get at the upscale stores in the mall.
Both of my teenage daughters loved your new patterns, Martha.
Oh, this is so exciting.
They really liked them a lot. And that's good that they have a multi-generational appeal.
Well, I think so too. Kathy, what are you going to share with us today?
Today, Martha, I'd like to share with our viewers the Cordonnet stitch. And the Cordonnet stitch is a wonderful satiny outline stitch. I have a wonderful piece of antique embroidery here with a marvelous example of this Cordonnet stitch. This was used a lot for vines, and it was also used in initials, the thin lines on monogramming. And I'm going to show you right here. This here is what we are going to be learning today, this Cordonnet stitch, this wonderful high relief satiny outline stitches. You can see that they've used it for the outlines of the leaves. They've used it for some of the tiny thin leaves and for your vines. And this stitch is very versatile, and it's a wonderful way, it's a wonderful alternative to your outline stitch or any of your other lining stitches. To begin the Cordonnet stitch, in all satin stitching, which is what we'll be focusing on in this series, there are 3 steps. And the first step to make a beautiful, beautiful satin stitch is your outlining. And to outline this stitch, there are 3 different methods that we can use. And if you'll look at my hoop here, and I'll move this thread, I'll show you some of the ways that you can begin the outlining of this stitch. Now, when I was in Paris, Martha, the French especially love this stitch called the running stitch. And with this running stitch, what you actually do is you want to leave thread on top of the fabric rather than just an in and out sewing stitch. And in order to do that, we want to make stitches, and they can be up to even 1/4 of an inch. And we want to make these stitches like this. And then instead of moving along, you only want to come up 1 fabric thread beyond that so that the majority of your thread remains on the top of the fabric. Now that's the running stitch. There's one thing you'll notice about this running stitch though that we have to take care of when we're using it as a padding stitch, and that is this 1 or 2 threads of fabric leaves a little gap in the running stitch padding. And what we have to do when we finish doing our running stitch along the entire line that we're working, we have to go back and actually fill in those little gaps. Fill in those little gaps by splitting that stitch and filling in the little gaps between. And that way you have that line nice and padded. And then we'll satin stitch over that. The other method that you can use to outline this wonderful Cordonnet stitch is with the outline stitch. And I've drawn this here. Excuse me. On the outline stitch, you simply keep the thread above the needle each time and take small sewing stitches along the outline that you've drawn. And that also works well for outlining this. Make sure that you keep your thread above the needle every time. And that's our outline stitch for outlining this Cordonnet stitch. And finally, my own personal favorite for this stitch. I like it because it's stable. It doesn't move from side to side. Mm-hmm. And that is a split stitch. And you start simply by taking a stitch on your line that you've drawn and then holding the thread. Notice how I'm holding the thread down on the back of my hoop. I come up from the back and I actually split the thread. And then I move along, make a new stitch, and split that thread. I find that this split stitch is very stable. I always start beginners with this stitch because it stays in place, and as you're satining over this stitch, it doesn't move around, and it's very stable.
All right. And now the Cordonnet stitch.
And now for the final step. And there are two ways actually to work this also. There are two ways. And the Cordonnet stitch, now that we have the outlining done, there is a second step in most satin stitches, and that is our padding. Actually, there are two methods, and the first method, you use the outlining for both the outlining and the padding. And the finishing of the Cordonnet stitch is that with a new thread, you simply go over with a satin stitch, go over the outlining that you have made. I'll do a couple of these outlines, these satin stitches over. And there we have our nice high relief finished Cordonnet stitch. In France, they like everything nice and high and very high relief. And an alternative method of doing this that actually uses a padding is that after you can see here on my hoop, I have outlined, and I'm fixing to go back with my stitch. And what I do is I actually lay a thread on top of my outlining, and I actually satin stitch over that thread, and that makes it even higher, Martha.
And that's the raised Cordonnet.
That is a Cordonnet with an added thread.
Oh, Kathy, thank you so very much for being here to share those wonderful techniques for Cordonnet. And now I'd like to invite you to come to my attic. I purchased this magnificent lady's dress at a textile show in Massachusetts. Let me just share with you one of the most beautiful pieces in my collection. The neckline has this wonderful Swiss lace and the Swiss embroidered lace, and then do you see the beautiful tucks on the top, and then they go over again in the middle? Beautiful piece of French lace. The little ruffle is very interesting. It has some Swiss lace, and then it has some French lace. On down to the waistline is very, very beautiful. It has sets of, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tucks. There's a tucked piece in the middle, a tucked piece on the sides, and a very wide, very beautiful piece of French lace. As we go down a little bit on the center panel of the skirt, it has released tucks. And then I'm going to hold this skirt up just a little bit for you so you can see the details on the skirt. It has mitered lace. You know, we had mitering today earlier in the show. It has mitered lace and over and under lace, and then down on the skirt, the miters make little squares that come up, and a centerpiece there, and then the beautiful lace that goes all the way down to the bottom. I don't know that I've ever seen a more beautiful dress than this. Now then, if I were going to recreate this dress for today, I would probably use it for a wedding dress. As a matter of fact, anyone who's small enough to get in this dress would probably enjoy using it for a wedding dress. Another wedding I saw photographed in a magazine recently had used these beautiful antique dresses, of course none of them alike, for bridesmaids' dresses, and it was just beautiful. I'm so glad you could join me on my sewing room today. I've had a wonderful time, and it's such a thrill every week when I come, and it's such a thrill for me to be able to come into your home just like I've been able to come today. Thank you so much for your support, and I hope you'll join me next time.